Boruto awakens new power. Boruto chapter 82 review. Let's get it.
Guys, we have the full chapter.
Let's
just say this changes everything.
Boruto
has a brand new Rasengan that has limitless potential. Things you wouldn't have imagined
limitless
in this
potential.
universe. We also have Code's army, the 10 Tails clones, now possessing brand new Renegons that also provide some intriguing information in regards to what we know about the Otsutsuki. In addition to that, we also have this intriguing mystery in regards to Sasuke's whereabouts and Boruto's actions during the time skip. So we have a lot to discuss, but as we always do, let's start from the top. So as we know, the last chapter ended with Boruto standing before Code, ready to challenge him. And this chapter pretty much picked up with Boruto doing the same thing. So it says here that the surprise invasion as part of a revenge plan from Kara's remnants, Code. Amidst the chaos in Konoha, he suddenly appears. Then we skip to the panel showing Boruto with Sarada and Code amongst the other 10 Tails clones. Code then says, "I've been looking for you, Boruto. I didn't expect you to come out so easily. If that's the case, you should have come to Konoha sooner." Then Boruto replied, telling Code to withdraw his monsters from the village, every last one of them, while you still can. If you do that, I'll spare your life.
Hold on, Boruto might think he's in. He's not thinking, hey, withdraw your forces right now. If not, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I don't know. That's him active. I don't care.
Boruto is really talking the big talk here, and Sarada is also looking on to Boruto. She hasn't seen him in a very long time, and she also might be surprised about his demeanor as well, because he's looking pretty dark here, and it's expected based on what happened. Now, I actually found this part very funny because Code is like very shocked about it. He's like, whoa, what do you mean, bro? What did you just say? And Code is just like, yo, 2 years ago, didn't you run away from me without doing anything? Now you're telling me that you spent my life. So Code is basically flabbergasted at this point. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, yo, chill out. You know you can't do anything, right? And then Boruto replied saying, "You heard it, right? If you understand, just do it already, or this time you won't get away with just your left eye."
Damn,
and then Code replied saying, "I'm surprised coming here and bluffing around. I can't help but laugh." Now this conversation is a little bit weird based on the dialogue here. Now it seems like from Boruto's perspective, he's stronger than Code and you should be able to beat him. But Code is a little bit confused because based on what happened 2 years ago when they fought and Boruto ran away from him, Boruto wasn't stronger at that point in time. Did Boruto actually put up a challenge against Limitless Code 2 years ago, or didn't he? You know, although I will say that Boruto giving him the scar doesn't mean that he's on Code's level, or he was on Code's level at that time. It is possible that maybe something happened that allowed Boruto to do this, maybe an off-guard feat, who knows, right? But the dialogue itself is kind of weird, but it could go either way. Now then we skip over to Sarada. She's getting some screen time here, and Boruto basically tells her that there are a lot of people in the village that didn't make it out, so go ahead and take care of them and I'll take care of Code. And Sarada basically asks him if he's doing okay. Again, she hasn't seen this dude in 3 years, but Boruto basically replied saying, "We'll talk later, but first stay alive." And that's basically where their conversation ends in this chapter. Now the panel itself might seem cold and people have a problem with it, but I don't think it's a problem. Of course, you can make the joke saying that, yo, Boruto is treating Sarada like how Sasuke treated Sakura. But
hey, my nigga, Sasuke was trying to get shit done. You feel me? Trying to get shit done. Sakura was holding her back. Get the beat. Sasuke trying to get shit done. And Boruto is trying to take care of Code. Boruto don't want her to see what he died to the Code, okay? That's what's going on here.
Then we skip over to like the third-party characters. We have Shikadai fighting these beasts as well. And this kind of gives us an idea of how strong they are, right? Because we have Shikadai holding down 3 of them at the same time using shadow paralysis. And then we have Chocho basically one-shotting one of the beasts using just 2 hits. Like she gave it 1 punch and then kicked it and that was it. And this isn't just a theory. I'm not just saying that they're weak. Like she literally says it herself. She says these guys, they're just numbers, they ain't much, right? So the characters and the author are literally telling us that, yo, these guys aren't really strong. You know, they're okay, they're fine. And we have to remember that even though Code used the 10 Tails power to create them and also his chakra as well, you have to factor in that Code is not very smart, it seems, because he created over 1,000 clawgrams. Like he created over 1,000 of these creatures using the chakra of the 10 Tails and his own chakra, which means that the power of the 10 Tails and his own power was separated 1,000 times at the very least, because he did create more. So it means that these are basically quantity over quality. They aren't very strong, just very huge in numbers. So that's why these characters, these lower level characters, are able to take care of them with just a single hit. But there is this interesting mechanic where the clawgrams use the other clawgrams to catch the characters off guard. They do this multiple times in the chapter, so they aren't very strong, but they're very intelligent to some degree at least, right? They know how to strategize to some degree. So we have this panel here where Chocho almost got bitten by one of these beans, but then Inojin swooped in using his bird and he grabbed it by its shoulders and carried it off into the sky. But again, these beans aren't really stupid. They have some level of intelligence because it used its tail to basically swipe off one of the wings of the bird so it would start descending from the sky. And while this happened, Himawari, who was also on the bird, fell off and it then went after Himawari immediately. But before it could actually bite Himawari, Kawaki came flying and basically told him to get out of his way and gave it one clean kick that sent it flying across town to some degree. Now the interesting thing about this specific clawgram is that it doesn't seem to be as weak as the others. Even Shikada himself pointed out that this clawgram is on a different level. It's superior to the other clawgrams. And then we get a panel of the same clawgram Kawaki just kicked, activating a Renegon. So this will be clear, when he tanked the kick from base Kawaki, he didn't have the Renegon active at that point in time. He only activated it after getting kicked. Because after this moment, while Kawaki was distracted by everyone else, the Ten-Tails clone with the Renegon used another Ten-Tails clone, basically hopping into its stomach using the claw marks to teleport behind Kawaki and then slap him into the ground before Kawaki could even react.
No, Kawaki! Getting caught lagging by a clone after a couple of year time skip? You gotta be cool. Getting caught lagging by this nigga? Come on, Kawaki, come on! Because, hey, Boruto wouldn't caught lagging like this right now, though. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's just me. That's just me.
Again, this is base Kawaki, he isn't using karma or even his dojutsu, but he was able to see the Ten-Tails, he was able to turn around, but he could not dodge or react. Now,
to that
this could add to the
way.
power of the Ten-Tails, or it could be a downscale for Kawaki. Either way you look at it, it's an incredible feat from this Ten-Tails clone. But that's not the interesting thing, because after he did this, the Ten-Tails clone spoke. He said, Otsutsuki. Now this is absolutely insane to me because but this Ten-Tails clone basically held Kawaki down, but then Shikada uses shadow paralysis.
Kawaki again! Your ass is getting held down by this little nigga? If y'all little kid say me, you nigga do some shit. Come on, dog, like use your karma or some shit. I mean, I don't know, bro.
Capture him or to hold him or restrict his movement. And Kawaki then used the opportunity to use his karma power to blast him away. Now, before we proceed, there is something I wanted to address. There was this specific scene where Kawaki was basically rude to Himawari because she said, "Thank you for saving me, big bro." And he's like, "Yo, stop calling me that. How many times do I have to tell you?"
Damn.
And but as I said, Kawaki destroyed this Ten-Tails clone that had the Renegon with one chakra blast from his karma in Karma V1, and then he said, Otsutsuki, it pisses me off when people call me that. Because again, Kawaki is 100% Otsutsuki per like statements, even though it's kind of weird since he was confirmed to be 80% Otsutsuki. But my understanding is that after he received the karma from Amado again, the reconstructed karma basically finished extracting the remaining 15%. So I think that's what happened. We see that the clones are basically spawning everywhere. They keep replicating. Shikada is saying, "Yo, there's no end to them, damn it. How many of them are there?" And Kawaki says, "It doesn't matter, I'll destroy every last one."
Nigga, you just got put in the ground. You know you was there in base, but you just got put in the ground by one of them. I imagine 5 of them coming at you with a Renegon and you're getting your ass whooped. I'm sorry.
We move on back to Code versus Boruto.
Okay.
And Boruto is looking very cool here. It seems like he's using some sort of sensory ability because he seemingly closed one of his eyes on his remaining eye, and we see this black panel which is normally used to indicate that a character is thinking, right? Or they're thinking internally, or they're trying to understand something. In this case, in battle, it's normally used when a character is using some sort of sensory ability to listen to the sound and the movements of people around them, and that's kind of what's indicated here on this panel as well. And then we see the clawgrams move towards Boruto, and that's when he opened his eye and he just slashed all of them with one strike, like literally one strike, and he killed like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
He actually uses the sword. I was hoping he just had it on display. He actually uses that shit. Okay, we like that. We like that. We're gonna see that sword gameplay. Well, not game, but right. Fuck you.
At the same time, just one strike. And Code of course is watching this, seeing everything happen, and of course he's kind of like concerned to some degree, because he says, so there's no way you're actually just bluffing, because he called Boruto's bluff earlier on because Boruto thought he could actually beat Code, and Code didn't take him seriously, but he is at this point in time. So Boruto then says, if you're still gonna do this, there won't be any of them left. And Code replies saying, don't get too cocky just because you've killed a few. There are plenty more of them out there. Besides, they're just tools for me. And Boruto replied saying, you still don't understand the horrors of the Ten-Tails. And Code said, what did you just say? And that's when we skip over to Sarada briefly. She's basically using the fireball technique to take down the Ten-Tails clones, and then she used their Chidori to take down another 3 clones, which is actually pretty impressive.
Sarada mastering the Chidori, I like that. And the manga panel looks sick as hell. She got her Sharingan out. Hey, that's a W panel. W Sarada.
Even the fact that she's still in base, which is pretty interesting to see she's using the Chidori, so she can use it in base apparently. But again, as I said earlier, the Clawgrams are using this tactic where they catch people off guard using the claw marks on the dead Clawgrams. So one Clawgram did this to Sarada and almost bit her, but one of the father ninjas, no-name ninjas, basically saved Sarada and he got bit instead. But what's interesting here is that after he got bit, the Clawgram that bit him started to turn into a tree, which makes it seem as if the Ten-Tails clone is absorbing his chakra and basically powering up, because the Ten-Tails itself is just absorbing chakra.
Hey, pause? You ain't had to grab the nigga like this. What the fuck? Come on, man. You could've. I understand you trying to bite the nigga, but come on, man!
With that being said, we're now back to the conversation between Boruto and Code. So Code says, I've known about the Ten-Tails. They eat Otsutsukis. Well, the truth is, they're just beasts that feeds on anyone and everyone on instinct until the time they find an actual Otsutsuki.
So
and Boruto replied saying, normally that might be true, but not anymore. And that's because of the transformation you added, because again, Code added his own iron to the Ten-Tails clones and his own chakra. Again, this chakra is Ishiki Otsutsuki's powerful chakra. Now, of course, with future being mentioned here, the possible theories, of course, will be that Boruto saw the future using maybe the Jogan or Momoshiki's
but there's still time. You've held the ropes to hold them. You can annihilate them right now. Otherwise, they're headed for the worst future everyone can imagine.
Which is actually confirmed to have that ability to see into the future. So this would actually explain why Boruto knew that Code would be in the village at this specific point in time, and also why he knows about this insane future, this dark future involving the Ten-Tails. So now Code is actually a villain, you know, so he's saying what villains will say. So he says, what's your point now? When the Ten-Tails ate Otsutsuki, or when the Ten-Tails eats an Otsutsuki, it will take root on this great land and become a divine tree. When that time comes, this planet will perish. The worst future itself is my objective. So basically what Code is saying is that you're telling me to stop the Ten-Tails from doing something that I want it to do, right? It doesn't even make sense to Code. But then Boruto replied saying, I'll only say this one time, Code. I'll let you live. In exchange, you will lead me to the Ten-Tails. Then Code replied saying, even stupidity has its limits, Boruto. Have you lost your mind? Then Boruto replied saying, I'll be blunt. Killing you is easy, rather than just dying in vain.
Holy shit! Imagine saying to the fucking villain, the villain right now, killing you is easy. I'll be blunt. Bro, Boruto, you might get the him card, and you might get the him card. I ain't gonna lie.
Why don't you do one good thing for the world instead of wasting your life? And Code replied saying, that's bullshit. You're the one who is going to die. And that's when Boruto said, there's no saving for this idiot, huh? And then we see a panel of Boruto activating some sort of chakra around his palm, and then we see it kind of propagate around his entire body. And that's when Code said, it's Rasengan. This fool, he doesn't think I know about it. And then we get a side text saying, Shun from his hometown and now being chased, what kind of new power did Boruto gain in the midst of all of it? And that's when we see Boruto walking towards Code saying Rasengan Uzuiko. And this is actually the brand new technique we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Now, as I said before, there are multiple possibilities for this technique. It is a Rasengan, but what's interesting is what it does, right? We know that Boruto's vanishing Rasengan makes itself invisible. And if Boruto is using this Rasengan per this panel around his body, does Boruto have the ability to make himself invisible using the Rasengan? Now that's it for my thoughts on this chapter, and that's it for the chapter itself.
That's the end of the chapter, man. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think in the comments. Is Boruto with him? And what's going on with Sasuke Day? Y'all let me know in the comments. You told me I love y'all, man. Thank you guys for watching, bro.